Welcome to Wednesday, and thank you for being a part of the show. A beautiful day in the neighborhood weather-wise. We've got more to come. Another day with some sunshine tomorrow and mid-70s again. And mid-70s all the way through the first half of your weekend. Low 70s, second half, and then we'll kind of fall back down into the other dimension, so to speak. And we'll just kind of sum up your forecasts for now, short-term. Message is, enjoy it while it lasts. A few nights ago, after we had learned of the passing of Jimmie Allen, I'd spent the afternoon searching for, finding, and then transferring into a digital format the interview that I did with Jimmie Allen, who had just passed away, of course. And it was Jimmie Allen Day, as was proclaimed by the Judge Executive back in June of 2010, and a showing of just a small portion of his photographs and collection and the information contained thereon, photographs, and therein his mind was just overwhelming, as I'm sure his daughters are finding at this evening, at this time, knowing already full well the extent of his collection was so much more vast even than that. And I'll talk more about that in a few seconds. But as such, I've gone through this a couple of times, and I've watched it, and I've enjoyed it, and I think many of you will too. So tonight, an encore presentation of that report that I did in its entirety. For the most part, there were a few portions that for some reason didn't transfer when the resolution was actually read, proclaiming it Jimmie Allen Day. But other than that, for the most part, the stuff that I did with Jimmie was all saved. So, just thought it was appropriate today, after services were held in his honor yesterday, and he was being remembered as he will always be, I think, for generations to come. Above all, Jimmie was, as I said earlier in the week, a gentleman. He was a family man. He was a historian. He was a McGoffin Countyan, and he was also, of course, a dedicated public servant, serving as circuit clerk for 30 years, and you'll hear some of that portion of his life in the following report. And you'll also see in some of the video, some other faces that we also have lost over the years as well, in that respect and others. So I'm going to be right back, and we will go to that special presentation, just taking a look back, and then a little bit of information to pass along to you towards the latter part of the program.
Platinum award-winning singer-songwriter Chris Janson is coming to the Mac, and he'll be playing hits such as Buy Me a Boat.
But it can buy me a boat. It can buy me a truck to pull.
Fix a Drink.
But I can fix a drink.
And one of his most recent hits, Good Vibes.
I'm getting them good vibes. I'm living this good life.
Get your tickets now. Call 1-888-MAC-ARTS, stop by the People's Bank box office, or visit macarts.com.
I got me a full cup.
Logan Corporation in Sagersville is now hiring. Due to continued growth and expansion, Logan Corporation is now looking for all local welders and fabricators, and experience is not necessary. For full-time positions with benefits, applications must be picked up at the Logan Corporation office at 124 Ward Road off of Parkway Drive in downtown Sagersville. Logan Corporation since 1904, and a leader in the manufacture of mining and truck equipment.
Appalachian Wireless is making it so easy and affordable to stay connected to friends, family, and the world. With the Forward Pay Unlimited or Unlimited Plus plan, get $50 off any Forward Pay device. And don't forget, with Forward Pay, there are no credit checks or long-term contracts. It's Forward Pay on the region's premier network, Appalachian Wireless. We get you because we are you. We are Appalachian Wireless. Activation fee required. Discount applied at point of sale.
There where every day starts, it's made and it ends. From hitting the floor to hitting the road and back, your feet carry the day's duties. And if you're hurting from what might be a work or sports or stress-related fracture you don't even know about, diabetic, or that all too often heel pain that just won't go away, or any type of pain or discomfort or in need of wound care, come to where they care.
Put your best foot forward and come visit our podiatry team. We care about our patients and their feet.
That's Dr. Cheney and her team at Hope Family Podiatry Center next to Hope Family Pediatrics on the Mountain Parkway. Someone dies in the U.S. every 7 minutes from an overdose, and over half of the population gets or takes pills from a friend or relative. And about 46 million and counting are exposed to narcotics in their drinking water. So don't toss them, flush them, or leave them lying around. Safely dispose of your unneeded meds anytime at Parkway Pharmacy,
where you can always talk to a pharmacist when you need one.
Get the right fit, the right tread, and the reliability you need for whatever you're rolling in at Conley Tire, where right now through October the 31st, get a $100 rebate on Generals, $120 on Kumos, and go to conleytire.net to find other special offers on the biggest names, plus brakes, oil changes, and computer diagnostics, all with 6 months no interest at Conley Tire in Staffordsville. It's in the air and it's on the calendar. Fall is here and the seasonal shop is filled with new clothes for the season, new arrivals from Charlie Page, Mud Pie, Royce, and more. And the new shoes are some of their favorites that they've ever had. And beautiful t-shirts and sweatshirts for every occasion and season, plus new shirts for all the Wildcat fans, the Montgomery County Hornet fans, teachers, football mamas, and more. And fellas, they didn't leave us out either. After many requests, they have brought back the fan favorite turn rows, shirts, and hoodies, and they've got a large selection of Ridge and Holler. And if you need a little self-pampering, their new selection of spa gifts are the perfect gift idea or a treat for yourself. Fall and Halloween decor on the floor right now. It's gorgeous, and Christmas is coming through the door right now, all at the seasonal shop. 2 locations, 2 ATMs, too much history, over 120 years, and just too many reasons not to trust. The oldest, only banking family that exists for the sole purpose of helping your families, our friends, grow financially and securely. Lean on Sigersville National Bank for any of your home, auto, commercial, retirement, or online banking needs. And let us help you make your dreams come true.
Joe Biden abused his power and opened the southern border, I took him to court. When Biden mandated vaccines, I got it reversed. When Biden drove up the price of new cars and gas at the pump, I rallied a dozen state governments to block him. Now the Washington liberals want to change our country for the worse. As your governor, I will fight them every day. Andy Beshear, he never will. I'm Daniel Cameron, and I put Kentucky first, even when it's hard.
I believe in Kentucky.
I believe in Kentucky.
I believe in small town values.
And mom and dad and the things they handed down.
I believe some of the best people in the world are farmers.
I believe in insurance that protects families, homes, and cars.
I believe in always finding a way to do what you love.
I am Kentucky.
I am Kentucky.
I am Kentucky.
It was a happy day. It was a glorious day. It was Jimmie Allen Day. I can't help but struggle to think that this was only 13 years ago. Feels like shorter than that. Feels like a lifetime at the same time. And I'm not sure for certain. Perhaps partially because there are a lot of familiar faces in this video that are no longer with us that will forever be remembered. But that day was set aside to pay tribute to a man who has made sure that we will all remember Sagersville and Magoffin County and Eastern Kentucky's history. He just loved it all. As much as he loved his family and his service to Magoffin County as a public servant, he loved collecting photographs. A lot of them, of course, as you'll hear, his grandfather's, but just wherever he could find them, wherever he could take them, wherever he could get them and preserve them and have all of the detailed information to go along with them. There will never ever be, and there never ever has been, another Jimmie Allen. For 93 years, Sagersville Magoffin County was blessed to have him. We will forever be blessed to have the work and time invested in his collection that he has left behind. A very, very, very small portion of which we got to see publicly together in the Sagersville Renaissance building on June the 4th of 2010, again, Jimmie Allen Day, as it was proclaimed, in which he was gracious enough, as he always was. He always took time to answer our calls of help here at the paper or on Your News Today and provide as much supplemental information and photographs that we could ever dream of. It was just always so wonderful to be able to lean on Jimmie for whatever we were working on. And sometimes he came in with things that we didn't even know existed that we were thrilled to have to be a part of the paper. So with that said, join me now as I just worked the room with Jimmie, and he described a treasure trove of photographs that, again, are just a very small number as to what his collection actually holds and will hopefully someday be able to be made public in its entirety.
Most of these old pictures that I'm showing here were made by Win Flint. He had a studio here on Coal Branch out there by the United Baptist Church. And here's a picture of him sitting in the back seat, and the picture is so plain you can see the date on the license plate. It was 1914, and that's a Studebaker car. That picture was made at Ashland, and I've just got a mixture here. Here's some pictures of the old Dixie Bridge, which was built in 1928. It was tore down in 1983 when this truck fell through the floor. And here was the lengthening of the bridge in 1937 when they made the bridge about twice as long, and they added a walkway to the bridge at that time. There's several people in there that I can remember. I was 7 years old at that time. And here's one of the record floods at that time in Sagersville. Here's the Carpenter Hotel, which is Gordon Long's office now, and the old bank building where we're located now. The water got up just about to the floor of all these buildings along here. That was in February '39. This is the same flood. This picture is a little out of focus, and it's on Church Street going south toward the State Road Bridge, but they hadn't replaced any of these wood buildings at that time. This was Carl Cooper's building, Doc Cisco's drugstore, Wiley Reed's dry goods store, and Reese McGill's dry goods store. Then there was a health department, a little grocery city market, and a little restaurant called the Greasy Spoon on the end. You could buy a hot dog there for a nickel and a hamburger for a dime. This picture is some school groups. It's got the 1937-38 basketball team, Sagersville High School. This is the Royalton High School team, 1933-34. Kenneth Arnott was coach at Royalton that year, but then I believe the next year he come down here and started coaching here, and he stayed here till World War II. Then he went in the service. There's a 1933 picture of the Methodist Church. It's got some local people in it here. Here's the old Magoffin Institute building that was built around 1920. I went to high school 2 years there, the last 2 years. And Here's one of the last graduating classes of the McGoffin Institute. It was here from about 1905 up to, I believe, 38 was the last year. M.F. Rice here is in the graduating class here. Here was the first band they had here. It was the 36-37 year, the year they had the new building out there. Here's some old pictures of Salyersville that was made in 1929. This one is a little earlier. It shows a horse-drawn hearse. And this is the oldest picture I've ever seen of Salyersville. It's an 1885 photo. I got it from Alice Lloyd College, and it's got the first courthouse that they had here. It was built in 1867, and they tore it down in 93 in order to build the brick courthouse. Here's a picture that was made in Dixie sometime in the 30s. This was before World War II, and a man named Harry Boggs used to come in here in the summer, and he'd take you a ride for the money. And there's Howard Prater. He was killed in the Battle of the Bulge in Europe in World War II, and this is a Martin boy that was raised up in the Lee Martin's son up in the upper end of Dixie. He made a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force in World War II. Here's a car wreck that happened up on Mason in 1933. There was one young man killed in that. Up the two top pictures are WPA workers, 1935. They're fixing the street up there by Winflant's house, putting rock on the street. And here's the WPA office force right here. This was down in the jockey lot down behind the courthouse. Their office was. Wynn made some long pictures with a circuit camera. And here's one made in 1932 at the Methodist Church. They had a group of about 200 people there that day. And this bottom picture was made in 1930, and it's got an airplane in it. It was Catherine Langley. She was congressman in this district, first woman ever elected congressman in Kentucky. She was elected in 26, in 28, and she ran in 30 but got beat that year. And I wrote a little story about her family. Her husband had been congressman here 20 years when she started. Here's another one of these long pictures. It's a funeral, Henry LeMaster's funeral up on Mash Fork. Here's some more 1929 pictures. The Wiley Rice Hotel, the Salyersville Bank where we're at right now, the Salyersville School, up until this building was tore down around 1935 to make room for the new brick school they built in town. This is Carl Cooper's restaurant right here in the old courthouse. Here's a real early picture of the courthouse, and some group is having a funeral there, it looks like. I don't know whether it's a lodge or what it is, but in this picture the old brick jail is not in the picture. So that means that this picture is sometime before 1908. That's when the jail was built. So it was made after the courthouse was built in 1893, but it was made before the jail was built. Here's a man that had a building out here that we remember it right now as Gary's Pharmacy, the stone building they tore down to make room for the courthouse. This is W.J. Patrick. He had a store there for many years. He was county judge at the time this picture was made and this one. He is the man that built the hotel right here, and then later on he sold the hotel and Wiley Rice got a hold of the hotel. Here's a State Guard group here in town. Some of them, that was Dr. Cisco, he was captain. There's John Brown, Jack Elam, and This is Wart Bailey, but I've never been able to find out who that one is. Here's another picture that's a little bit unusual. It's an oil pump station at the mouth of Oakley, which I've never seen anybody so far that's old enough to even remember it being there. Harold Arnett gave me the picture. His father, Jolly, used to work for this company. It was Cumberland Pipeline Company, turned into Ashland Oil later. But they had a pump station there, and an oil line went through here back before World War I. The railroad that went up the river here and crossed and went up Oakley in 1920 hadn't been built. So this picture is before 1920. This is some more good pictures of Shyersville in 1929. The courthouse, the bank building. This is looking Church Street north. There's the courthouse. Out here at that time was a 3-story garage. It was the Ford dealership here in town. They've got a Ford dealership sign right here. Boone Hard, Nels Hard were brothers. They had the Ford dealership here until they moved it to Paintsville. Up here is a building that was across the street from here, just past the Fred Reed building there. This was a wood building that they tore down around 1940, and this is a World War I Red Cross organization group. Here was the Prater Hotel, which was on the right, just down here about where the service station is down here now. That was called the Jeff Prater Hotel. Here's Gilson Pyers, the one that got shot during the skirmish, Ivy Point skirmish. He is from Lakeville. He survived. Here's Captain Patrick that was in command of the group down at the Ivy Point the day they had the skirmish. He got away that day, but he was killed in Georgia the next year. His brother, Elijah Patrick, went to Georgia and got his body and brought it back here and buried him at Bradley after the war. Here's another one of them 29 pictures. Shows the jail, the brick jail. Here's some pictures that was made in the 50s right here. This is the sheriff's department. Donnie Arnett was sheriff then. He had captured a load of illegal liquor there, and they had it stacked over there and made a picture of it here in front of this building. Here's the Prater family reunion up on Vernon Fork at the old Archibald Prater house before it was tore down. This was around 1955.
So what about this dog here? I'm interested in the big dog. Jimmie. What's that?
Oh, this is my mother's picture. She was, that picture was made around 1908, and this dog belonged to J.B. Gardner here. And I think my grandma wanted a picture made of the big dog with Mom, and Mom told me she was a little bit afraid of it, and it appears like he was a little bit afraid of it too, because he was watching it pretty close. It is a real large dog. Here's what happened out here where the old Baptist church is on the other side of the State Road Bridge. When they brought that road around the hill out there, the first old missionary Baptist church that sat there was in the way, and they tore it down, and that's when they built the brick church out there that's still there. They built, this is coming out of Vernon Fork, and they built the road right around the side of the hill. The old road that come out of town, when you come across the State Road Bridge, it turned to the right in front of the church and went down by the riverbank and come out up here. Well, it flooded all the time too, so that's why they cut the road through the hill in 1928. This man running this shovel here was Grover Miller. He was from Jackson. His father was Hoy Miller that had the Miller Construction Company that built all the early roads here. The next three there are unknown people. I just had some pictures made from old negatives. Those negatives were made back in the 30s. The baby and a boy in a flower patch and a girl playing a mandolin. This is a band group out here in the band room that used to be out here behind the schoolhouse when it was down here in town. M.F. Rice and Lowell Watkins and Gerald Denny and Scotty Patrick and Johnny Higgins. They were in the All-State Band that year and went to Louisville. Here's a service station, Texaco. It used to be down here where the service station is on the right down here. This is the Gulf Station that was out there where the city hall is now. Here's the 59 courthouse. This is one side of it. This is the side that faces Maple Street here. This is the side on Church Street. Here's the old brick courthouse just after the fire, which took the top off of it. Here's one of these circuit camera pictures with a large group in it. This is at Wall Preston's house up on Burning Fork. That's in behind. The house was up the holler there where the Parkway Motel is now. This is the Burning Fork Bridge that was built in 1934. And they tore it down when they widened the road out here about three or 4 years ago. When they widened the road out here, they tore this bridge down and built a different one. They also built the State Road Bridge out here at the same time they built this one, but I think they removed it too.
Okay.
This here's something that happened nearly 100 years ago. It was the night of June the 26th, 27th, 1910. They had a cloud burst on Brushy Fork, the head of Lincoln. There was 4 people drowned, and it washed away nearly every house on the creek and up on the river there. You can see how high the water, there's people standing up here on the here, and you can see the pile of brush is probably 25 feet high. So that had to be a tremendous flood to pile that up. This gathered down at the mouth of Puncheon. Well, down here at town at that same time, the next day they had a flood here in town on the streets, and the streets was dusty. They didn't get a drop of rain in that rainstorm. And people come out wondering why the river was up, you know, it didn't rain. This is the Carl Cooper building. That's over there where the family bank is now. They tore it down in 1948. Here's a picture of it when they was building it. 3 Lakeville men built the building. It was Frank Pyers, Holt Pyers, and Wilbur Pyers built that building. It was called W.R. May Store back then, but later on Carl Cooper owned the building. They had a restaurant there when I was a boy. Now this is down here at the end of the lane. I got some pictures here of myself. That's when I was a little shaver. That's one of my small pictures. Here's the way I looked back in 1960 when we had the centennial. Here's me and my wife Beulah. There's one of me and Beulah. Here's a group that was made up at Lakeville at Wilbur Pyers' cabins and pond back in '56. Here's a picture. It was made in '71 at Louis Nunn's office. He's governor. Bob Williams here in town made a painting for him, and he took it down there and presented it to him, and I went with Bob that day. Here's a picture of Martha Lane Collins and myself. I was clerk of the circuit court, and she was clerk of the Supreme Court and the State Court of Appeals at that time. Later on, she was governor, the first woman to ever be governor, and the last one too here in Kentucky. So that's about all I've got this time, but I have got a few more.
Where did your fascination with all this with the photographs in history? Where did it all begin?
Well, back when I was a teenager, Win Flint, the one that made about all these, he was my grandpa. And I helped him some when I was a teenager. I would go out and make pictures for him if you had some to make of a family reunion or a wedding or something like that. I'd go out and make his pictures for him, and then I got a hold of all these old negatives after he passed away, and they wasn't pictures. There was a lot of them hadn't been printed up, and I just got interested to see what I had, and got to having some of them printed up, and wound up with a great big collection of pictures.
So you've literally been putting this together your whole life?
Oh yeah, and I've had all these negatives and things since '59. And that's been 51 years ago.
Out of, I can't imagine how many there is. Is there any of them that you covet as the most prized to you, or any of them? Is there some that you really hold to a little more than the others for any reason?
No, of course I like the family pictures, one of my mother and the big dog, and the one of her family when she was just a little girl sitting in her grandpa's lap. That's a dandy picture. Some of them have been enhanced from the original. There was a man in Lexington worked on those with a computer, and he really helped them a lot. And of course the old ones here of town now, these 29 pictures, I've got the negatives for them too. I've got a series. There was a series made in 29 here of about 10 pictures up and down the street, and they're real plain, real good pictures. Bob Prater kind of got me interested in these old pictures years ago. He used to be editor of the paper, and I told him about having these, and we got to going through them, and Bob wanted copies, so I got copies of them made for him too at that time.
So Win was really at that time the main photographer?
Yeah, he was. He first made pictures up on Rock House where they lived up there, up that holler, and they lived up there till about 1910. And then he moved down here to town and built a little house right beside of the church house up here, and they moved to town. And he was down here at that house till he passed away in '59.
I hear Mom's stories and through Papa him washing his negatives off in the creek, Cold Ranch.
Oh yeah, he'd lay them. He told me that was the best way, that they really washed out clean when you put them in running water, you know. He said he used the branch up on Rock House stuff. And he said the secret of pictures lasting a long time was when you wash the prints out to get the chemicals out. If you get all the chemicals out, they won't turn yellow. Mm-hmm. But if you do a fast job on it, well, they'd turn yellow quicker then. Well, so the ones that turn right yellow, you can figure, well, those was made in a hurry.
Well, how much does this represent, what you've got here today, of the photographs that you have accumulated over the years?
Oh, I've got several more, but most all of these have been printed in the Journal of the McGoffin Historical Society, and a large portion of them have been printed in the Kentucky Explorer magazine at Jackson too. There's several of them. I've got an article in that magazine this month, the June issue, of which I don't have those pictures here. It was a State Guard group here in town at that time, and they were at a camp down in Frankfort at that time. It was an interesting story.
Well, I thank you. This has been an interesting story for me to do. Don't get to do stuff like this very often.
I have several old pictures. Since I got interested in them, a lot of people gives me old pictures now, and some of them I don't know where they come from or who made them or anything, but I welcome all of them if anybody got something they want to get rid of.
Well, you might have just opened the door for that, Jimmie, by the time you put this on TV. I don't know.
Yeah.
You may get more than what you bargained for, but we'll certainly tell them.
But I've had, I'd say practically all of them nearly have been put on digital records now where they're not lost. That's what I was afraid of. I was afraid they'd be lost. So many old pictures are.
Well, I hope you're putting the stories along with them, so those will be preserved as well. To some degree.
I've got stories typed up on several of these here, especially the ones that I've had articles in a paper or magazine or something or other.
And so many, 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 many more that I hope to someday be able to show you more of. Now, I want to close by saying this, that the works which Jimmie just belovedly described only scratch the surface of what he has amassed throughout his lifetime dedicated to preserving our history. And I've spoken with one of his daughters, Alice, and she's expressed that the family's intent is to follow just as he would have wished, to somehow make that available to the public, to be seen, to be known. And so far, they, I think, nor anyone has the correct answer or the best answer for that. I've spoke to the judge executive and a few others. Just kind of, we know that it needs to be in his own library or a wing of an existing structure. Not necessarily a standing structure, but there needs to be a space dedicated to Jimmie Allen's life work. And we don't know when or where that's going to happen or how, but that's kind of the mindset, and I'm just kind of throwing that out there in hopes that maybe some feedback might come back this way and some other ideas. But somehow we need to incorporate it into our local history and process and access of being able to see and enjoy for the rest of our lives and for generations to come. It won't be long before none of us will be around to remind the other generations of what Sayersville was and was like, and all the very important and special people who were here to make it what it is today. So with that said, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.